Your girl done got a podcast. Welcome to the Profoundly Unserious Podcast with me, Morgan. I can't believe this is finally a thing we're doing here. I am so excited to have this space to kind of talk to you all fully without the restrictions of the clock app. So, I know a lot of you probably are finding this through my social media, so I'm excited to have a fully robust conversation with you all about various different topics. And the reason why I started this to begin with is I wanted to use this as a space to share some of my perspectives and knowledge about different things that I've had the privilege of gaining through different experiences, the education I've gotten, and things like that. So, part of it is just sharing factual information, and part of it's going to be, just sharing my perspective on things. But also, y'all know I be going down rabbit holes like it's nobody's business. So this is also a way for me to drag y'all into my side quests as well. So this is going to be a mixture, a hodgepodge of things. And the way that I'm choosing to describe it is like you all are coming into my brain. So welcome to my brain. But on a real note, I think that right now there's a lot of things that need to be discussed and talked about, especially as we go into 2026. We're 10 months into this Trump administration. Rough. But I think there's a lot of ways that we can go about approaching what is happening right now in a way that is empowering to us and can actually enact some change that will benefit us in the near future. So part of it is just wanting to have a space to discuss that with you all. But the other piece is being able to bring people into this platform as well, like whether it be candidates, especially here in Texas, as I focus on this Texas Empowerment Project. That is my current passion project here in Texas. I want to use this as a space to really get some really critical information out there, because it is something that I'm seeing gaps in when it comes to our media landscape. There's so many things that I feel like I can offer. I really do want this to be a place where we can have really honest conversations and really approach this and what is happening right now with this administration in a really intentional way. And I feel like there's a lot of chatter in our media landscape right now, and I'm seeing some gaps that I'm really hoping that I'm able to fill. And that's not to take away from the very important work that people are doing right now. It's just there's a lot happening, and there's only so much an individual person can do. So I hope this is a place of value for you all, and also something that can be an extension of the passion project I currently am really leaning into here in Texas, that being the Texas Empowerment Project. As you all know, that many of you probably know, that started as a spite campaign against Gregory Abbott, our current Texas governor. And I say current because he ain't gonna be there next year or 2027. Technically, that's so far away, my God. But we're working on it. But it is something that I started because I really do want people here in Texas to feel empowered to change our government to reflect the needs and the people in this state. Because right now, it very much does not. And some of that's going to look like sharing information. Some of that's going to be offering perspectives, just like I will in general on here. But also, I'm hoping to use this as a space to share some of the candidates that are running for office, especially as we go into midterms next year. So I'm really hoping that this can be a place to push us in Texas in a positive direction as well. So we'll see how it goes. So who am I? Okay. I feel like if you follow me on the Clock app, you probably know a lot about me at this point. But there are a few things I haven't mentioned on there, so I thought I'd share a little bit more. I'm from Alabama. I currently live in Dallas, Texas. I know a lot of people hear me talk about that a lot because I be talking about the South quite a bit. It's kind of crazy because I grew up, being in the South is kind of weird. It's a mixed experience, and I've kind of had my experience has very much been colored by the racism that I've experienced living in Alabama most of my life. So, there's there's some ways that I haven't felt the most positive, but as of recently, I felt a lot more passionate and felt a lot more love for being from the South and the people here. And it's just grown over the last few years. But I'm from Huntsville, Alabama. Grew up in the heart of the civil rights movement, as I like to say. I've grown up in very mixed communities in the sense of I've been probably 50% in black spaces, 50% in white spaces, and I feel like this has offered a point of view for me through these experiences to bring those spaces together, which I think has been shown through some of the content that I've just naturally posted on the Clock app. So I think that hopefully that can be something that can be of use as we discuss some of these topics. But I went to the University of Alabama. I studied public relations and I minored in African American studies. I actually wanted to be a professor, a political science professor. But then I was like, hey, I need money and like expeditiously. So, and I'm not saying professors don't make coin, okay? That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that your girl did not grow up well off, okay? So I was like, I need something that can help me pay these student loans immediately. So we went into PR, and through that I've gained a lot of different experiences through that. I currently work at an agency, so there's a lot of different hats I wear in that regard, which we can get into as we talk about different things. There's some crisis in there, there's some social media, there's some marketing. It's a whole thing. But I really want to talk about the political science piece of things because I think that's a little bit something that many don't really know about me is how I've always had this deep passion for our civic duty as citizens of this country. And I want to talk about how that is playing into my viewpoint on this country, which we'll get into because guess what we're going to talk about today? Patriotism. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. But the last few things I'll touch on is one, I'm a Sagittarius. Two, I got ADHD, which you'll probably see through the many things I've said I was going to do, but then got distracted and didn't do, like the Cowboy Carter deep dive that some people asked me to do a few months ago. I mean, I'm still willing to do it if y'all want me to. And honestly, it's probably going to be baked into this conversation today. But it's a thing. I'm working on it, but you know, it'd be whooping my ass sometimes. I also research for fun. It is like a whole thing. If you could make researching like a hobby, that's me. I be like in the shower, scrolling on my phone. Actually, do other people be scrolling on their phone in the shower? Is that like a thing? I do that because again, rabbit holes. But anyway, that's like my decompression time. Showers are so important to me. Okay, I like being in the shower at night is how I cannot go to bed if I don't have that transition period. But passionate about media literacy, okay? Some of the most fascinating things that I love talking about are some of those pieces of how the way that we say things and present things to people communication wise and how that shapes people's reality. And which is why I recently made a video talking about active and passive voice and how that can be a really good tool to figure out if somebody is intentionally trying to manipulate your view of a situation. So I will be talking about that a lot too. And also the last thing, Lady Gaga follows me on TikTok. Wild. I just got to throw that in there because sometimes I think about that. I'm like, that's kind of crazy that one of the trifecta follows me. My trifecta currently is Beyonce, Lady Gaga, and Adele. So yeah, there's probably some other people in there that I'm not thinking about right now. But I want to get into the conversation about patriotism. Because we need to talk about this. Now, first of all, let me tell you why I want to talk about patriotism. Because one, I think this is fundamental for people to understand and be able to see how they relate to it personally in order for us to move forward in this country. I'm so serious. And it's like something that not a lot of people really want to talk about. Now, the definition of patriotism is the devotion and, hold on, I got a definition. The devotion to and rigorous support for one's country. Yeah. And I wanted to put this idea out there that I'm sure other people have thought of, but the fact that I believe Black people are some of the most patriotic people in this country. I do. I can't speak for all Black people, Okay, I can't do that. But looking at the actions of my people and our culture and the way that we go about navigating the world, it is very obvious to me, even if there are portions of us that kind of reject that notion, especially Black women and Black queer people. I feel like there's a deep understanding that these two groups of people have of what it's like to be under the boot of a oppressive government and the ways that it can impact vulnerable communities. And it's like there's just this way of reaching out and supporting those around us collectively that I really, really love about us as people. And of course, like there's nuance to conversations like this, but in I think I'm one of many that is always willing to have hard conversations about my community, but it's a through line in how we operate that I've seen consistently across generations, and it's something that I really, really love about us. And I'm telling you right now, I want to talk about the conversation of how we talk about the church and how that relates to our country. Because they are connected. They are connected. Yes. So there's this concept that's talked about a lot in Black churches. And it's this concept that church is not a building. Church is the group of people in the building. So you can be with your church outside of it. And I think this concept really, really applies to this country as well. And I want to translate it that way because when I think about the concept of patriotism, one, the right has heavily co-opted this concept of loving this country. And I think it is a disservice to everyone else to let them continue to do that. And two, the reason why related to the church is the country, it can be looked at in the lens of like the borders and the government that operates within it, but it really is the people within the country. So when I say that I love this country, I'm saying the people in it. Honestly, that's about it, if I'm being quite honest. But that's what I'm talking about. And I think it is so incredibly important to really interrogate how we as people in general relate to this country as individuals and what that means for us. Because I think it is so incredibly important to be able to be willing to admit that you care about this country if that's something that's authentic to you. I'm not trying to push nothing on nobody. But if it's something that's authentic to you, it can be a driving force to do something to change what this country looks like. Because whether you like it or not, you're American. Sorry. So sorry. So, and I talked about this months ago, but like, you can make that, like, you can either sit and bemoan the fact that you are American and you hate this country and blah blah blah, which honestly, like, I do get it, trust me. I'm not sitting here saying that there's not some validity behind that. But you could do that, or you could make being American something that's worth a damn. And I personally like to take the make it what I want it to be direction of things. And I want to be able to take this concept of loving this country away from the right. Because let me tell you something, there's nothing that they are doing that demonstrates any kind of love at all, except for love of power and ego and things of that nature, which is no. So I really, really want to push people to really think about how they relate to this country and the ways that that can be a motivator in how we move things forward. Because I'm telling you, if you admit to the fact that you care about people in this country, because that's when I say, when I love this country, that is what I'm talking about. If you can sit and admit that, that can be a driving force for you to imagine a future for this country that is worth something and serves people in a way that is really hard to do if you have this nihilistic, we're cooked way of looking at this country and the way in the future of it. Now, I already know there are going to be people that are like, but MAGA though, they're part of this country too, and we don't like them. Correct. You are correct. And don't get me wrong, I have a deep disdain and rage for the position that MAGA and the representatives in our government that subscribe to that, for the position that we're in right now and the ways that they have directly harmed people. I cannot stand it. Okay. But one of the things that I personally subscribe to that I encourage people to consider, because again, I'm not going to push nothing on y'all. But one of the things that I personally do to kind of work through this concept of loving the country and the people that are in my country, while some of those people are MAGA, is centered around human rights. I've always said I'm a human centric person when it comes to what my values are. And my values are directly correlated with my politics. And it's always going to be centered on the well being of those that are in this country and even outside of it. So when kind of working with that when it comes to MAGA does make it difficult because I'm a human. But when you center human rights, that has to include everybody. And that includes people that also don't respect other people's human rights. Yeah. But the reason why, though, is not because we're like, we're just these sweet people that just love everybody and it's like this super toxic positive kind of thing. It's not that. It's because if you do not value and support human rights holistically, you are going on a slippery slope to do some of the same kind of shit that they do, just with different reasoning to get there. And not everybody, but I'm telling you right now, that is not a direction you want to go into. So that is the reason why I look at centering humans in our well-being and our rights as a way to cover our bases, right? Cover all our bases. So then when we have conversations around MAGA particularly, it's more so centered around humanely holding them accountable for their decisions. That is really what this is. And some of it's already happening because yes, we have the government in within itself and the way that that's operating right now, like the administration and things like that. But socially, I'm pretty sure MAGA's feeling it right now. So that's a good thing. We should not be sitting here letting people like distance themselves from this bad decision making that all of us are suffering the consequences for. I think that is one of the issues that we've had historically, is not holding racist white people accountable. It has been a constant thing of them being able to holistically get away with it in a way that is deeply problematic and has led to us getting to where we're at right now, to where I keep seeing Nazi shit everywhere. What the fuck is up with that? Why is it that like I'm seeing more and more of that, and I don't like how comfortable some people are getting with that, but that's a whole nother conversation. But anyway, the reason why I bring this up, though, is because, yes, MAGA is included in the people in this country, right? And I'm not sitting here saying you have to have warm and fuzzy feelings with them. I don't think that at all. In fact, I think all the rage and anger is not only something that is valid, but it's something I feel as well. And I don't really care to commune with them either. But what I can say is that when it comes to loving this country, part of that is loving someone does not always mean you have this warm rainbows and lollipops approach to them. And I think anyone that has had a very difficult and even harmful family member can attest to that. Because sometimes the best thing you can do to love someone is allow them to feel the full brunt of the impact, the negative impact of their decision making. And that's kind of how I feel about MAGA. So it's not that I love them, because I don't. But what I do really appreciate is the fact that like we have the opportunity to center the love that we can have. This sounds like some hippie shit right now. We have the opportunity to center love and peace and shit. I really do mean it though. Like we have the opportunity to center that in a way that cares for people, so that when we are having this conversation around MAGA, is driven by that. Because when we are interacting with them, one of the things that I think needs to drive that is the fact that we are trying to protect people. We're trying to protect those that we love, because there are people in this country that are actively trying to cause harm against others. And that is something that is not okay. There's a difference between impact or actions that are driven by hate, things that are driven by solely by anger that may or may not be righteous. I mean, I feel like, okay, be honest with you, all anger is righteous, okay? But I think what I'm trying to say is like, there's a difference between trying to interact with and punish them than it is to hold them accountable, driven by the want to protect people in this country, the vulnerable communities, the marginalized communities, and all the people that are currently being terrorized by this administration. And the reason why I'm making that distinction is because when we go in the punishment route of things, you're more susceptible to lose that center point of humanity in this. And that's not something that I want. Because again, that is that's a slippery slope. That's a slippery slope. And none of this means that you have to be in community with them either. It does not. It does not. Because that also is not safe a lot of times either. But that is where everybody's different role in movement and progress comes into play. That's why I a lot of times focus on white people when it comes to that. Because cis het white people are going to be the most protected when it comes to interacting with MAGA and being in proximity to them. So, in the very, very, very minute amount of people, of black people particularly, that might subscribe to that shit, don't worry about them. We got that, okay? Because one thing black folk gonna do is call our own out, okay? And that's something that I really want white people to get with the program, okay? Because I talk about this all the time. I've said this before and I'll say it again. White people have this propensity to want to distance yourselves from people that are not great, which I get the inclination to do that. I really do. But that is not needed, especially from y'all. And it's one of the things that I really do appreciate about us as black people, because in my personal experience, and we don't really turn away from people that are problematic. We call them out like immediately. It's like a community effort when we see somebody acting a nut. We're like, we don't play that. Like, for instance, in college, there was someone that I knew or met, I'll put it that way, that was mixed, but you could tell he grew up around primarily white people. He had a white mom, if you can kind of get the drift there. He had this weird viewpoint of blackness because of this. And there were, when it was appropriate for me to do so, I was like, hey, you do know you black, right? Just throwing that out there. I really want you to sit with that and kind of confront that for a little bit, because you are doing yourself a disservice right now by acting like that's not a thing. And I said this because the people he was surrounding himself with were quite questionable, and they were all white frat dudes. So I was like, hey, buddy, we don't come here. It was like a come to Jesus meeting, because I was like, what are we doing? No. So there's this and I've had the same kind of conversations with people in our community that really like Trump because of the stimulus checks that he sent in the first administration, which he did not do that, by the way. That was Congress. He just put his name on it. I've had those same kind of conversations. So I just encourage you all to like not distance yourselves, because it's like, hey, you can't do that. We don't do that. The only ones that we do that with is the Hebrew Israelites, but that's a whole nother conversation. In fact, I might take that out of here because I don't want nobody looking into that. But my point is, I think it's really important that you all recognize that you can't distance yourself from anyone, not other white people, but collectively, no matter what race you are, this country. Because so sorry you live here and you're American, I'm assuming, if you're listening to this. If you're not, consider yourself lucky. We're going through it right now. But I won't say that too, because we touch and impact literally everyone on this planet at this point. So, there's some complexities around everything. So I won't even say you're lucky, because maybe it might be a little worse because you're relying on us to do something about it. We're kind of struggling with that right now, which is why I'm doing this podcast. Yeah. I'm going to keep that at that for now. So we're going to stop the conversation there for now. But I really am excited that you all joined me for my first episode. We love that this finally came out. This was months in the making, but we finally did it, and that's okay. And we're about to keep this going. My plan is for this to be weekly, and this is going to evolve with time. This is the first time I'm doing this. This is a very DIY kind of situation, but we're getting it going, and I plan on you most likely publishing this every Monday or Tuesday. I'll keep you all posted, but thank you for joining me.